When I was a kid in Colorado, growing up on a ranch, I used to go sit under one particular ponderosa pine tree that was right next to the creek. Its roots were being undercut by the creek, so it was tilting at an angle, and it was just the right angle to lean back against and sit, daydream. Sometimes I'd do my homework, sometimes I'd write. And one time I remember sitting there thinking, you know, this tree has a story to tell. If only I could talk with it. If only I could really hear its language. Think of what it has seen. It has seen the Ute Indians making their passage across these very lands. It has seen people rolling in covered wagons across that exact forest route. It has seen avalanches on Pikes Peak. It has seen droughts. It has seen all sorts of exciting stories of wildlife and moments that it could tell me. Little did I know that 25 years later, I would continue to answer that question through a story called The Ancient One, that is a girl's experience where she goes back in time through a tree that is also a time tunnel. Another example is a seed that Merlin planted at the end of the Lost Years of Merlin books that became a world tree, a tree so vast it actually stretched from earth to heaven, that had inside of itself all of the realms and complexities of a world, the great tree of Avalon. And I'm sure in writing those stories, I was in a way hearkening back to that childhood experience sitting under the ponderosa pine tree and trying to answer that question. At the heart of being a writer, right in the middle of the job description, is being as aware as you possibly can. That means you have to notice things. You have to notice senses, what something smells like, or what something looks like, or what something might be like. You have to dream, you have to feel, you have to really be alive. And I love that about writing, because it means that part of the job description is being as fully engaged in your life as you can, as fully present as you can. And so at the same time as noticing makes you a better writer, I think it makes you a better person, because you have to be fully alive. The place I always begin noticing is with the senses. I try to imagine, what does this feel like, taste like, sound like? When young Merlin washes ashore on the very first page of the Lost Years of Merlin, he hears the seagulls screeching over his head, he tastes sand on his tongue, he barfs seawater. It's a horrible experience. He can smell that briny breeze off the ocean, even as his torn tunic is being dragged back under the waves and he has to crawl up the beach. You have all the senses alive right there on page 1. And that's a way of giving the reader an opportunity to really be there, right there with Merlin. That's the first step, the senses. And then I ask myself, well, what does Merlin feel? What does this character feel like in that moment? In that case, he feels terribly lost. He feels alone. He's confused, and then he's afraid, because he realizes that in addition to being washed ashore, surviving some shipwreck, he's lost all of his memory. So he doesn't have a clue who he is, where he grew up, who his parents were, not even his own name. That's a frightening place to be, but that's where he begins his journey. In that same way, the next level that I try to ask as I'm bringing a scene to life is spiritually, what does this mean? Does this mean that maybe every one of us washes ashore at some point in life? I know I have. And every one of us is confused or lost or alone. And yet every single one of us, just like that boy who washed ashore, has inside of ourselves something special, something remarkable, something magical. That young boy becomes a wizard, and who knows what you'll become.